Boom. Episode 26. Today we're covering new MRR, churn rate, and net margin. The three most important metrics of an agency. Let's go.
Hell yeah. Churn? New MRR.
New MRR.
Let's start
with
that.
new MRR.
We've spoken about it a lot. It's a great metric for many reasons. The first is typically with any service that you're selling, you're looking at the lifetime value of a customer. You're not looking at what they're just going to pay you once or pay you twice, but you're looking at what they're going to pay you over the course of a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And lots of people look at this on a yearly basis to calculate their yearly contract value. But even with contracts in place, people can stop paying for your service. So looking at the revenue on a monthly basis, but specifically the revenue gain on a monthly basis is an amazing metric that you should 100% be tracking. It indicates the performance of your referrals, the performance of your marketing and your sales. And it basically just says, how much new monthly recurring revenue did we acquire this month?
How much are you growing? How much are you adding?
How much are you adding? How much are you growing? For obvious reasons, if there's only three metrics you can track in the agency, these three that we're covering are the most important by a long way. You can pretty much run an entire agency without looking at anything else, so long as you have these metrics accurate. You ask a lot of questions about what is causing them or what is driving them in the first place. I'm curious for you, Braden, what have you found to be really impactful on new MRR? If we start diving into some examples for everyone.
New MRR specifically, are you talking about getting new MRR or the efficiency of the system or anything?
The efficiency of the system, increasing it, getting it at the most efficient costs or from a time or money perspective.
Yeah, well, if you just look at new MRR and then the amount of calls you have taken, you can actually see how much new MRR you're adding per call taken. I think that's kind of a sub metric. If we're adding 4, 3.5 metrics. That's super pivotal to look at. It allows me to see the performance of how the agency is doing as far as bringing new people in and the efficiency of the overall front end system. I mean, we do
the efficiency, like the quality of the leads that you're talking to.
Exactly. Everything.
The length of the sales cycle is included in that stat. The quality of the offering itself. All can be condensed into, that's just honestly a great point. Maybe it's even better than new MRR, but actually the new MRR that you're getting per sales call you're taking, that is a fantastic metric to track.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best. And I would say it's arguably better than new MRR because it takes every single metric and kind of plugs it into one specific parameter. And it allows you to see also when you're looking to hire sales reps or setters, how much they'd actually make per pretty much meeting booked, and it helps you.
Or how much you can afford to make in the first place.
Exactly.
At least if you're thinking about paying people from the perspective of from the perspective of what the sales team is generating for that 30-day period or for that month. Of course, those deals should go on to retain, but at that point they are someone else's responsibility. They are typically moving into service delivery or some sort of product that you sell as an agency. It gets you a really great number as to how much you actually make in recurring revenue per call that you're taking. And as Braden said, if you're hiring setters or salespeople in the first place, you should understand this metric, because probably the most common fault of beginners when they're building sales teams initially is hiring too many salespeople, and then discovering that the efficiency isn't even good enough for 3 salespeople, let alone 10. Braden,
I could speak for this as of right now. I've taken my sales team on the front end from, probably at our peak we were at 12 setters. I've taken it all the way down to 1, and I'm adding more new MRR than a 12-person sales team with just 1 person. So now I have less people, less overhead, less management. I have 1 person making more. Instead of 8 people making $1K a month, I have 1 person making 8. It's so much better, so much more scalable. And
I could film 50 episodes on why less is more from a people perspective for so many reasons. Just generally, a really easy metric to track. You're looking at how many deals you actually close that month. If it's 0, it's 0. If it's 5, then you're able to see your new MRR per deal. You're able to see your average. And then I guess as part of new MRR, kind of encompassed within that is also upsell MRR. So this is when you have clients that are paying for a higher tier of service or a new service that you offer. And that's kind of like part of new MRR. That really tells you kind of the overall efficiency of your upsell rate, of your ability to continue monetizing your current client base. Within that category, you know a lot, and you can do a lot with that data.
And it also shows how good is your backend as far as service delivery, how good is your backend team, whether it's a client success manager or yourself at upselling, at getting upsell attempts, which is really good. Now, you sign new MRR. Obviously, the goal is to keep it. That kind of leads us as a great segue into the next, I think, most important metric. Arguably one of the most important metrics in the entire business. I think the one we just covered is very important because if you don't have MRR, you can't move MRR. But this is a very equal second, which is churn rate. How many clients are you losing per month? Talk a little bit on that.
Sure. Yeah, I think first is like first there's a couple of different types of churn rate to understand, and then generally you need to know what the metric means. Really simply, it's just how many clients did you lose in that time span. Again, tracking everything on a monthly basis. We track this as a percentage of your total client base. So if I have 10 clients and I lose 2 in a month, then I had a 20% churn rate. That's high. You want to target somewhere below 8%, especially in an agency business. Ideally, you're getting below 5% if you want to grow really quickly.
And this is super important at scale. Because when
crazy underrated as well.
When you get to the points where like you can, not saying you want a high churn rate, but at like 50K a month or something like that, you can definitely fly, with a 10, 15% churn rate. But if you just kind of extrapolate that all the way up to like, let's say 500K a month, at a same 10% churn rate, you're having to close 50,000 in new MRR just to be able to keep up and like break even. Otherwise you're losing every month. So it becomes very hard to scale.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you dive into it, you see that like most businesses have really high churn rates, or at least the online ones that you see. Like we're talking above 30%. Like 1/3 of the entire customer base leaving every single month, and it's why people spend
rebuild your business 4 times.
Crazy, yeah. Wow, well said. It's you really do, and like a 5%, you're rebuilding every 18 months or something. And the assumption that you can also make is you're churning out bad clients, and the good ones are sticking around for a long time. So part of it's natural, but if you can grow your revenue by 10. Everyone wants to grow their revenue by like 500% every month. But even if you're growing your revenue at like 10 to 30% consistently every month, your company is roughly like 4xing every single year. And 4x growth over the course of 5 years is a really, really big business, no matter what industry you're in. So keeping churn rate low is important. But there's 2 types of churn rate you can track. So one, like we just explained, the churn rate of actual customers themselves or clients. The other churn rate is total revenue churn rate. So out of those 10 clients, let's say 8 of them were paying me $10,000 a month and 2 were paying me $1,000 a month. If I churn the 2 that are paying $1,000 a month, then that's not as necessarily damaging to my revenue. Versus like if those 2 were paying $10,000 a month and everyone else is paying $1,000 a month, then it's really significant. So you kind of want to track both, where you want to track the actual like percentage of people that you're losing, but also the percentage of revenue that you're churning. And when you do that, you get a really good understanding of like how healthy the business is. And again, ideally both metrics sit below 5% if you're running a really efficient offer, a really efficient system.
What you arguably want to do is with this churn rate, the most important thing is you want to be able to identify where the actual problem's coming from. So if any client is churning, you should definitely have a mandatory offboarding call, offboarding form. It works well. It gives you a chance to resell that person back into the program and kind of cover any issues that they might have and see if you can address those. And then if they are pretty dead set on leaving, it allows you to actually get true and honest feedback. Because if you just let a client go, give no feedback, and just cancel, you don't gain anything out of it. There's no opportunity to improve.
Right. That's a fantastic point. There's a lot of things that you can do that are like good to reduce churn rate. You definitely don't want to get into the whole like ClickFunnels stuff or what some companies do, where it's next to impossible to actually cancel your subscription even if you want to. that will only end badly, especially in a service-based business or a business that is more people-heavy. But generally, there is a lot that you can do to understand why somebody is churning and actually solve their problem before they do. And just simply having this metric allows you to be creative. I think, again, like the focus on metrics in this video is the point is if you don't have the data in the first place, it's next to impossible to do anything with that data. And when you're looking at like potentially hundreds of different metrics or things that you could track, lots of people just track random stuff. I've seen people track the amount of days it takes them to make a video edit, and it's like it's not a bad thing to track particularly, but it's definitely your 50th priority or 100th best priority. And I guess like this leads really nicely into net margin itself, because having a low churn rate actually starts to create some margin for you. So hopefully everybody understands this one, but Braden, if you want to kind of break down net margin and how we think about it.
Yeah, net margin's the bottom line, right? What are you keeping after everything's said and done? Now, obviously, there's sub metrics to that you can get into, as far as, if you have 100,000 in revenue, what are you spending to fulfill on your current clients? What are you spending to get new clients? And then what are you keeping? But net margin's that bottom line. After everything's said and done, what are you keeping? This is arguably one of also the most important metrics. I don't know if you could really say any one of these three is the most important. I think they're all very important, but this shows you what you're making. It shows you an honest, true perspective of what the business is actually netting. And I think this is super important, especially at an early level, because sometimes you might look at your account and it might not actually reflect how well the business is doing. And I can definitely speak on that. I don't know how long ago, maybe a few months, a year ago, my business felt as if it was barely making any money, just looking at account wise, but actually tracking that margin. There's other expenses, whether it be personal or stuff like that were going
education, like reinvesting into
Exactly.
things to learn something specific. Yeah.
And that kind of like changes your mindset as like, okay, the business isn't doing well, but in reality it actually is. And that net margin gives you an honest perspective, kind of taking yourself out of the business and removing you as a variable. What is the business producing as far as profit?
And that's an important distinction early. Like obviously, technically, like when you file your taxes and stuff, your net margin of the business is maybe lower, but it's important to exclude those expenses that aren't necessarily like required to operate the business, but are things that you're doing to grow it faster. Because especially like when you're doing like less than 50,000 a month in revenue, let's say, maybe even less than 100. Like you might spend 10,000 a month on coaching. You might spend $4,000 to go visit 2 clients and in person and build a relationship with them. Use it as a way to improve your product or service. It's not like a direct cost that is required in order for the business to continue operating, and it's not something that's going to keep repeating itself for a long time. But when we talk about net margin, we actually separate the two. And as a rule, we make sure that the company is always operating at a 50% net margin. And if you can be in that range, then you can expect the business to remain very healthy no matter what. You can weather almost every single problem as a business. But what too many people do is they try to grow their company really, really quickly. And at some point along the lines, they do the math and go, well, hang on a second, if I was spending more, my company would grow faster. And they take that extra 50% and they dump it into marketing and sales. And they don't see much of an increase in their new MRR itself. So again, you can see how these metrics start to tie into each other. But they spend all this money, they don't see much of an increase in new MRR, or they take so much focus away from or they put so much focus into new MRR that their churn rate suddenly starts increasing too. So both metrics go up, which is not a healthy situation either. So by having almost like this discipline around net margin, I think from what I've seen, companies grow a lot faster because it forces constraint on the business. And just like that concept where if you give yourself 8 hours of time to work on a problem, it takes 8 hours, but if you give yourself 45 minutes, it takes 45 minutes. The same is true with net margin, where it's like if you give yourself the 50% net margin requirement, then you have to understand how to operate the business within that range. And it guarantees security for everybody at the company. Guarantees that everyone's always going to have a job. Everyone can always be focused on being more creative and less focused on stressing about whether you close a deal or not. And that's another really dangerous cycle that people fall into. So I think that like that's a great way to almost wrap up this podcast as well, because ultimately it is really, really simple. And if you don't have this already, go and put these numbers in a spreadsheet. Just it takes 10 minutes to calculate them and just get an understanding of where you were at for the last 3 months or even the last 30 days. And going forward, you can start monitoring these metrics and reviewing them frequently, up to every single day. And I just by looking at them, I can guarantee that your business gets better and improves much faster than it already is.
Couldn't agree more.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Thanks for watching.
Later.
See you guys soon.
Bye-bye.